Hi everyone, Zarina here and welcome to the painting channel. Now, it's that time of year and you can tell by my croaky voice that I have succumbed to whatever the weather is. But I thought, it's time to make some seasonal cards. And I like to make my cards, to be honest, rather than buy them. And I actually like to make the cards from actual art paper, so proper watercolor paper or proper cartridge paper, whatever. So it's all archival stuff that I use, but you can buy as well something like this, but I'm not quite sure how archival the card is in these, because the envelopes are fine, doesn't really matter about the envelope, I expect, but the actual card I'm not sure about. I'm not sure how archival it is. These tend to not be too expensive either. You can actually buy some watercolor ones, etc. as well that are ready-made. So that's an option too. But what I do is I just make my own. So the best way to do this is to first of all find an envelope. You could buy a pack of envelopes or something, and then you kind of organize your card so it fits the envelope. Now, these are offcuts to other paintings I was doing or other work I was doing on paper. And for instance, this one I've gessoed. So I was doing something or other with gesso on these ones, on this one anyway. But this is watercolor paper and they're all 300 GSM. This one, the cartridge paper, is probably about 140. It's still okay, it's still okay. And the other thing to think about is interesting stuff. So for instance, that's kind of interesting, so I would keep that as part of the card, and that's just the sketchbook edge. So I've taken this out of a sketchbook. So there's nothing to say you can't use a sketchbook piece of paper, or this was actual watercolor paper in a sketchbook, but it's one of those where you tear them out, so they're kind of joined with some kind of little gluey thing. Yeah. So, right. So how are we going to, how are we going to do it? Now, if you look, right, watercolor paper with an edge is quite nice. So you can like tear it and make this nice edge. And I've got a flat edge because, of course, it was just like a certain size. It was probably a big size actually. I usually get like the big books or just normal, just huge paper. That's the other thing I get, but this is from a book because I'm pretty sure this one was from a book. So what you need is you need a ruler to do this, and I've got this ruler. I'm not sure it's a very good one to do it with. I had my metal one somewhere. A metal ruler is probably the best. Wait a minute, I've got another little metal one actually. Oops. Right, so I've got a little one which will fit sort of this line, but it's not going to fit that line. So it's probably a good idea to have a larger, longer metal ruler. But I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use it with this plastic one because can't find my other metal one at the moment. Right, so let's clear a space. So let's say we're going to make it for this envelope. Right, I'm just going to move everything else out the way. Right, okay. Right, so the first thing to do is to make now that's not actually totally straight, that, is it? So you might want to straighten that off anyway. So you can use a set square to do that, actually, if you want to. I'm probably just going to do it by eye. So what you do is you angle your ruler and then you fold up your paper like so. And you fold it down with your nail. Ooh. And then you tear it kind of like quite carefully like so. There. You get a kind of edge, which is quite nice. No? Oh, actually, I forgot to put the lights on. Don't know if that's better or not. Anyway, I just turned the lights on. So, right. So I've got that. So that edge is now straight. Right. Then we need to fold it exactly where we think the fold needs to be, so it will get into the envelope. So sort of there, I reckon. Yeah. So when you fold it, make sure that these two edges are marrying up. So I'm not going to use my nail on it because I think I scraped my nail polish all over it previously. If your ruler's clean, you can just do it with your ruler. There you go. Right, that's all right. Yeah. Now we've got a little bit of extra here, which we need to take off. So you could mark it with a pencil if you wanted to, or you could just your ruler and then fold it up like so. Then open out your paper. Fold it down. That's easy to tear, and then tear it off like you did with the other edge, the first edge. There you go. And that's quite nice, and you can smooth it over with that. Just make sure that this ruler is clean, that's all, and your space you're using is clean. I did clean my table. It looks a bit weird because I've got chips in it now, but right, so that should fit that card envelope. Sorry, that card should fit that envelope. Let's see if it does. Oh yes, there we go. You can make envelopes as well. You know, if you make an odd shaped card and you think, oh, it's not going to fit any envelopes, you can actually make an envelope for it if you want to. Yeah, so that one's ready to go. I can now paint that, which I'm going to do. It's watercolor. Now the thing is, you don't really want the paint to go anywhere else apart from here. So I'm going to do a little painting. I'm going to zoom in. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to cover the rest of the area so it doesn't get grubby, and I'm going to cover it with this paper I gessoed, because I'm going to go, this is because it's gessoed, I'm not going to use watercolor on this. I'm going to use acrylic anyway, so it doesn't matter if any paint goes on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to marry it up to the top line there, like so, and then I'm going to use masking tape in a minute. Now we've got our masking tape I was using during Painttober, which is the frog tape, and this was quite good masking tape, but then a friend gave this masking tape, which is called Tessa, and you can get this from like Homebase. Actually, this one you can get from Homebase too. I don't know where else you can get the Tessa because he got it from Homebase. So we'll see. It's a little bit grubby, but it doesn't matter. It's just to try out and see, but it may well be better than this. And I was going to do a trial between the two, but I'm not going to do that today. Today I'm just going to use our normal frog tape for this purpose. So first of all, I'm going to create a sort of a thin edge around it anyway. Now I'm going to do it by eye, but what you could do is you could measure to make sure you get, you know, the exact edge you want. I'm not going to do that. I like to live on the wild side. Yeah. And plus I can see through anyway to see how. Yeah, so probably about that much, yeah. Now the test will be, is it going to tear the paper? Because sometimes these masking tapes do, but I did used to use this with watercolor paper all the time, and it didn't used to tear the paper, so I'm hoping that that's going to be the case. Now I want to hold this down here, so I'm just going to put some on either side just to hold it there. Now you're probably thinking, oh, you could hold it here so that it doesn't go, but I actually want the edge of the masking tape, so I'm going to put some masking tape here as well. But the reason I've held it down on either side is because I kind of want to make sure that stays in place and doesn't move while I'm doing this with the masking tape. So generally the same amount, and you're probably looking at about, let's measure it, shall we? 1 centimetre-ish. So that, yeah, 1 centimetre around this much is okay, because this is a very small card. You don't really want like an inch or anything around it, I don't think. And there. And then the last one on this side. Now I haven't bothered doing this to it, which is what I usually do to be safe, so that it doesn't tear the paper. So we will see if it's going to tear it or not. Hang on. It's not quite straight, I don't think. Oh. There's always one, isn't there, that doesn't want to be straight. Right, and I'm just going over that with my nail. I'm going to use one of these tubes. Which one shall I use? I could use Payne's Grey, or I could use Prussian Blue. So these are my two options I want to work with. So I'm thinking maybe monochrome, because we have been doing... Yeah, so I'm thinking monochrome because we have been doing some monochromatic stuff. We need a little palette maybe. Right, so Polly Pockets are absolutely the best thing to use as a palette when you're doing watercolour. Going to put a little Prussian Blue here. Ooh, that's nice. And we're going to make a really simple mark, because with watercolour it kind of goes a long way, and if you make it too busy it doesn't look that great. So I find having more white space and less watercolour works best, but you know, you might work that one out in a minute. Right, so what I tend to do is I tend to use the edge of the palette knife to start off with. So I'm thinking kind of a wintry landscape, and I'm gonna pop my palette knife in the water like so. Then I'm going to do this, just the edge really is what I'm after, and I don't want it too thick, because if it's too thick it's going to really blob. There it is. And I'm going to go for sort of a horizon here, like so. Oops, bit more. There you go. So just putting sort of a little line in for a horizon. And we did do like a project on horizons in, well, earlier this year. This is still 2024, so you know, if you go back to, well, if you go onto the project playlist, you'll find it. So we're just making a few nice little landscapey marks, and then what you can do is you can add in a little bit more extra color now. So I'm just going to take it neat now through it and sort of darken up some of those areas I've already put in. And the thing with watercolor is it's really nice, it will mix and merge wherever the water is, of course. And wherever there's no water, you'll have these really defined kind of edges, which is quite nice. So that's nice, isn't it? Now I want to put quite a defined edge here because I kind of want to make a couple of trees or something, I'm thinking. So I'm going to ditch my palette knife for a minute, and I'm going to use a brush. I'm going to use this one, which I think is quite a good one for watercolour. It's quite smooth. I don't really know what the number is. Oh, wait a minute. It's a number 5, okay? Number 5, and it's quite flat and big, right? And you usually get these in packs of 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or something like that. No, not packs of 1. Or maybe you can get them in packs of 1 as well. But when I say packs, I actually mean more than 1, probably 2. So I'm going to pop it in my water like this, yeah. So it's kind of wet. I'm not putting any colour on it. That colour was from beforehand. And I'm just going to touch some of that horizon like so, and pull it out a little bit. There you go. And what it does is the watercolour kind of travels up into the water. And if you think they're getting a little bit, they're called blooms. If you think the blooms are getting a little bit too big, you know, you can do this while the paper's wet. Once it's dry, it's not going to work anyway. Yeah. So that's quite nice, I feel. And then I can go in and I can, you know, mess around like so. There we are. And I think that's pretty much it really for that one. I'm liking it. And you can, if you do too much, it's going to ruin it. So you don't want to do, what you don't want to do is too much. But I do still feel I'd like, I don't know, I kind of want to add something still. It's just me though, isn't it? Yeah. Some kind of definition over there in the corner. That's quite nice. And you can also use a smaller brush. Shall we? Use my rigger, for instance. And with riggers, I like to sort of make the tip thinner. And you can do that by sort of trailing it on your hand or trailing it through some paint. I don't really want to put any paint on it because I'm kind of wanting to mess around over here. Yeah, that's it. So you can put little, you know, you can put little things in with the rigger brush if you want to. Add the human hand if you like, because I mean a lot of that is just like, it's just happened because of the way watercolour works, you know? And if you want to take things out, you can, because you can just wipe things away. Let me just show you how to do that. So make sure that your brush is clean and you've got water on it, and then you just, let's say I want to wipe this blob away a little bit. I just work into it with the water, and then I'll dab it with a bit of tissue. Hang on. So wet it up, and let me get some tissue. Yeah, I see it's sort of taken away some of that colour. And you can do that, you know, to a large extent if you've got some, like for instance, if it gets a bit too fussy or busy or it's too dark, I recommend erasing some of it. And the fun thing about watercolour is you can do that because the watercolour works with the paper, and the paper is what's giving it the light. So when you cover too much light is gone, and to bring the light back you can take the watercolour away, and something you can't do necessarily with acrylic or anything else. So watercolour is great for that, you know, so erasing and bringing the white back. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. I'm going to now remove our, let's just move this palette out of the way. I'm going to remove our tapes. And first of all, let's hope it hasn't torn the paper. Yeah, it's got a nice edge there. And what I like about the tapes is that it gives this really nice frame to it already. And with these kind of cards, which are obviously art cards, original art cards, you can frame them up if you want to. There you go. And let's take this one off now. make sure your hands are clean when you're touching. You know, make sure they're clean now when you're touching your card, because you don't want to get mess on them. And make sure the table's clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tidy up the table a minute. I don't want any mess to go on any other parts of the card. And sometimes I'm a bit slapdash, to be honest, and you get paint inside it, and you know, you get paint on the back, etc. But there we go. So let me just dry it with another bit of tissue. Make sure, yeah, there we go. Right, so that's our card. And then I like to put in what I think it is, or what it's supposed to represent. So I usually do that with a pencil. Right, so I've got a little pencil. I like it sharper than this normally, but I'm just going to pop in my kind of little logo there, and then I can put here what I think it is. And most of my stuff is sort of a landscape, but I'm going to call this a wintry landscape. And what that does is it gives it more of a formality that yes, it is original and it is a painting, and it actually has an idea behind it. So you've given it a title, so you know it's part of something. And then I like to, on the back of the card, I like to add something like my name or my website. And we've used a blue here, so I'm going to use a blue color gel pen. You can use a fine liner. I've got some fine liners as well. I'm just going to test it first on a bit of, yeah, there it is. It's actually not that same color, is it? So I don't know really. Do I like it? Do I like it if it's not the same color? I've got this one, which is a fine liner. This is the Stettler fine liner. I'll try that one and see if I like that one better. That's a bit dark. That's a bit light. Okay, so that one's darkish and that one's light. Which one goes best? I like to match them up. I think the dark one matches better, so I'm just going to use the dark one. So, you know, for finishing off things, paintings, cards, whatever it is you're doing, it's nice to have like a set of pens that you can use. So I'm going to put my, now what you can do is you can use something like a ruler or something to kind of keep you on the straight and narrow so that you don't go all over the place. So I'm going to just take it down to about here. You can do it by eye, of course, totally. Yeah, about here. And I'm going to pop in my website. Which is zarinakiani.co.uk. Now, I do have like a studio page where I put things like little cards or landscapes or projects I'm doing. Well, that wasn't very good, was it? That went wrong. So it's like /studio. So I'm going to put /studio there. I mean, if I'd started here, I could have put it there, but I thought about it afterwards, to be honest with you. And then my social media handle is Zarina Kiani, @Zarina Kiani. So that's on all the things, which I'm not on that often, to be honest. Yeah, so there we are. It's not totally in the middle either, but it doesn't matter. You know, I'm quite happy with that. And here we go. There it is. So just there. That's quite nice, isn't it? Yeah. So that's going to be someone's Christmas card. I think you know who you are. Yeah, so I make all my Christmas cards for people at Christmas. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I suppose happy Christmas, whatever. Season's greetings. You could even write something there if you want to, but that will be another episode. So signing off for now.